This bar chart compares the final scores of a U.S. Open golf tournament against the actual payouts. The winner, Bryson DeChambeau, beat the runner-up by a single point, but he walked away with roughly twice the prize money. Curious. This same pattern appears in music streaming. In 2023, Lana Del Rey was the 10th most streamed artist on Spotify, a position of massive global reach. Yet Taylor Swift, at number 1, earned nearly 4 times as much revenue. Swift is not 4 times better at her craft. She has simply secured a slightly larger share of the audience's attention. Even in the publishing world, an author like Stephen King, who has spent decades dominating bestseller lists, serves as a baseline for the absolute peak of professional success. Yet J.K. Rowling has earned an estimated $1 billion. She effectively doubled the financial returns of another writer who was already considered a master of the industry. This graph charts how a marginal advantage over the competition yields an exponential outcome. In many high-performance fields, the rewards don't move in a straight line. They accelerate once you pull ahead of the pack. It is the cumulative effect of being just slightly better, applied consistently, until the financial gap between first and second place becomes massive. If the formula for these massive rewards is just a matter of making small, smart choices, then why aren't we all living in mansions? The problem is hidden at the very beginning of the curve. This initial flat line is the valley of disappointment. It is the phase where you put in the daily effort and make the right choices, but receive zero instant gratification. Most people quit running by week 2 because they step on the scale and see no change. Or they pick up a guitar, practice for a few days, and put it down because they haven't instantly transformed into Slash. Human psychology is wired to crave immediate proof of progress. When that proof fails to arrive, we abandon the compounding process entirely, often stopping right before the math finally has a chance to work in our favor. The math of success is rigid. You take a small, smart choice, add consistency, and multiply it by time. The result is a radical difference. Imagine a commercial airliner taking off from New York, locked into a standard trajectory heading east across the Atlantic. If the pilot shifts the aircraft's heading by just 2.4 degrees north, the passengers won't feel the change. During the flight, everything appears normal. But that microscopic shift causes the plane to land in Stockholm instead of Moscow. You can apply this same geometry to your health. If you skip a 240-calorie snack on weekdays, your friends won't notice a difference by the end of the week. However, look at how that single choice stacks up over a year. You have avoided 63,000 calories. That tiny, invisible daily shift results in an 8-kilo difference in your body weight. If the formula is this simple, why do we constantly veer off course? There is an old story of a man quickly riding by on a horse. A bystander shouts, "Where are you going?" And the rider replies, "I don't know, ask the horse." Most of us navigate our lives in this state of sleepwalking. We let a default autopilot make all the minor, seemingly insignificant decisions for us, drifting toward a destination we didn't actually choose. This autopilot reacts blindly to short-term stimuli. It lets morning drowsiness dictate how you treat your family before your first coffee, or allows a minor dip in the stock market to ruin your well-being for the day. Without an active intervention from you, this default state will keep compounding those thoughtless reactions into long-term failure. Firm. To engage the compound effect, you must take 100% responsibility for making things work in your life, your career, and your health. Many people view relationships as a 50-50 split of effort. In reality, success requires giving 100% of your effort with zero expectation of a return. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist who survived Nazi concentration camps, observed that even when everything is stripped away from a man, he retains one final human freedom, the ability to choose his own attitude in any given set of circumstances. You cannot demand outside results, like fame or instant wealth, but you possess the total freedom to control the daily inputs. You can decide to act in a friendly manner, and you can decide to put up valuable content regularly. The practical tool for firing your autopilot is manual tracking. Success depends on the principle that what gets measured gets managed. Just by being aware of your behavior, you improve your odds of success by a ton. To make this effective, use the via negativa approach. Instead of counting your good habits, force yourself to physically write down every negative action. Every time you eat junk food or make an unnecessary purchase, log it. Physically logging your failures creates immediate friction. You will feel sheepish every time you pick up that notebook, which forces you out of your sleepwalking state and into awareness. Massive success does not require genius or luck. It requires waking up from the autopilot and forcing the math of the compound effect to work in your favor, starting today. Many of us set clear goals for long-term health, only to find ourselves an hour later choosing Netflix and ice cream over a scheduled workout. Relying on brute force willpower to stop these choices is a losing battle. It's the equivalent of trying to fight off a roaring polar bear using only the plastic tray your burger came on. The modern, rational mind is evolutionarily outmatched by million-year-old animal instincts. These systems are hardwired to prioritize instant sensation and pleasure over future rewards. The difficulty of building good habits reflects a profound tension between our biological hardwiring and the actual forces governing human behavior. This behavioral trap is best explained through the lens of high school physics, specifically Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law states an object remains at rest unless acted upon by a significant external force. Our bad habits are this natural state of rest. Anchored by instant gratification, willpower alone is mathematically insufficient to move the needle. Breaking a biological habit requires an external force powerful enough to overcome that initial resistance. To knock your life out of its state of rest, you have to trade willpower for why power, a deep emotional propellant. Pure logic alone cannot generate this force. If you were offered $20 to walk across a wooden plank suspended between two skyscrapers, you would likely refuse the risk. However, if your child were standing on a burning platform on the opposite side, the emotional stakes would instantly override your fear. That resonance provides the momentum to move. Finding this leverage requires you to peel the onion. You must look past superficial goals like getting fit to find the raw, personal, and perhaps uncomfortable desires that actually drive you. Connecting your daily choices to a deeply emotional why generates the initial force needed to escape the gravitational pull of your past behavior. Once in motion, you encounter friction. Biology introduces resistance through a survival-based negative bias, constantly pulling our focus towards threats and fear. The first source of friction is our media intake. To maintain momentum, you must manually override the brain's default settings by curating positive, skill-building information instead of negative headlines. Your peer group provides a second source of friction. Most individuals eventually drift towards the average attitude and ambition of the 5 people they spend the most time with. To counter an uninspiring local environment, investor Charlie Munger suggested a different intellectual framework. By studying the biographies and letters of the eminent dead, you can dilute the influence of a negative immediate circle with the attitudes and momentum of history's most disciplined minds. A third source of friction is environmental clutter. Incomplete tasks and disorganized spaces act as psychological vampires, draining the energy required to stay in motion. Sustaining momentum requires the systematic elimination of cognitive friction across your media, your peer group, and your physical surroundings. When you combine explosive initial force with a zero-friction environment, new actions eventually solidify into a brand new, positive autopilot. This chart visualizes the outcome of small, smart choices made consistently over an extended timeline. Eventually, the compounding effect of these choices dwarfs the impact of any single massive leap. You retain the freedom to consciously manipulate your physical and psychological inputs in the space between a stimulus and your response to it. Mastering your own behavior requires deploying heavy why power to break inertia and ruthlessly eliminating friction until your forward progress becomes as predictable as the physics that drive it.